Trading to tower, you are clear for takeoff. Before the show begins, remember that trading involves risk, and anything shared in our content should not be construed as financial advice.
I do have some trades on. I am long Aussie CAD.
For these positions, I wouldn't mind holding them for 3 months.
So around 100.5 to 99.5 in that sort of area.
Pulver alerts, I have 100 shares at 11.79. I closed out today.
Start building your strategy based upon historical data.
Welcome to A1 Trading.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another live stream. We are just getting started here. Hope everybody's doing well. It is Friday. It is Friday. Hope everybody has some nice weekend plans. I think, you know what I'm going to do this weekend? I'm really excited about this. Me, my wife, my brother-in-law, who is 12 or 13, and my sister, and I don't know, somebody else might join us. We're going to play Minecraft, and I'm so pumped for it. I'm a huge like Minecraft fan, but I am looking forward to playing some Minecraft this weekend, man. I haven't, to me, it's just the greatest game. You just get into a new world and I don't know, you just go exploring and you just build stuff and you go mining. And so in Minecraft, real quick, this is just an important update. In Minecraft, you have different types of players, right? You have the players who are the exploration people. Like they just want to go explore in every direction. They want to explore every mine. They want to go to the nether. They want to go to the end. Then you have the builders, people who like to just build endlessly, build houses and castles and walls and that stuff. Then you have the fighters, the Minecraft fighters. Like they want to get diamond armor. They want to defeat the wither, defeat all the, end dragon, all that stuff. So I'm curious, for the Minecraft players, which one are you? And I'll tell you which one I am. I am the builder. I love to build stuff in Minecraft. I like to build a house. To me, the most fun thing in Minecraft is like you get all your materials and then you build cool stuff and it just looks pretty. And then you start a new world. But yeah, it's a fun game. If you never played Minecraft and you need a game that I actually think whatever your stress relief is, like Minecraft to me is a very low stress, chill game. Whatever that is for you, it is probably an important thing to add to your trading. Like for example, if you for example, like to take walks or runs or do puzzles or something that's like low stress, I think is a good thing to have as a back pocket item as a trader, because trading for a lot of people is very intense. And it doesn't really have to be. It's really intense if your position size is too big. But even if your position size incorrectly, trading is still something that it's taxing in the sense that you're watching money move around all the time. And it is, it's an emotionally draining thing. That's only human to have that feeling. Every single trader has that feeling, whether they'll admit it or not, right? We all don't want to lose money. We all want to make money. And so that I think it's important as traders that you have something else in your life, right? Something else. And for me, that's Minecraft. No, I'm just kidding. I bought a home last year. That's a big thing that I do on the weekends. I work on my house, and like right now, fall leaves are everywhere. Whatever it is for you, there's your takeaway for the day. Get something outside of trading going on in your life, because it's really critical that when you're going through drawdowns, like for example, another one that I used to do, and I probably still will do this periodically. I used to play a ton of chess online, like chess.com. My elo, if you cared, was never very high, but I think I got up to like 1275 elo in chess, which I was pretty proud of, to be honest. Any chess players in the room? But during like drawdowns, having that something to do for me, that was chess, Minecraft, walking, running. You know, I like to go to the gym, whatever that is for you, right? It's important to have. Really, really important. Ball Out plays chess. I play chess too. Yeah, I mean, chess is great, right? Gym's a good thing. Gym is the easiest one, right? Because that straight up drains you out. Like the ritual of the gym. I mean, I'm a little biased because I love the gym. I know you guys can all tell. I'm, you know, massive, right? But but the point is, the ritual of the gym is nice because it helps you to relieve, like get that energy out. And then, you know, there's the ritual of like clean eating after, cooking. It's just a healthy thing. So I think it's good for your mind too, and a great way to get you physically away from the desk as well. Anyways, let's update some positions. Let's talk a little bit about what we've got going on here for Friday. So I did take profits on the NASDAQ trade for now. I am all out. Ended up being, let's see, what type of percentage move was this? It's about a 3% gain on the move here. Now, of course, hindsight is 2020. So shoulda, coulda, woulda closed it when it was up 8+%, right? But I've done this for so long, man. I was thinking about this. I was like, man, what if I had employed all of this effort into other things? What else could have I done with my life? I mean, I say that jokingly because I really love trading. I love learning about financial markets and the economy and all that. But this is 10 years into my everyday commitment to this stuff. So the point though is for 10 years, you know, there's always that feeling like, man, I should have closed something up here. But I've stuck to my system for a long time, and it's really been rewarding in the long term, not every single day, right? Sometimes you have situations like this where I entered here and the market ran, I looked good, right? Trailed my stop loss, but then market came all the way back down and took me out. And hey, you know what? A lot of times it will actually even take me out and then keep going. That happened to me on silver earlier this year. But sometimes there's a reason why I do the things that I do, right? It's not I'm doing those things and just being an idiot to the idea that, you know, that always happens, because that does not always happen. For example, let's say I just took profits on NASDAQ and we get a couple more weeks of this. I'll feel pretty smart for that. But hindsight is one of the most dangerous things in trading, right? For example, hindsight is so dangerous because if this thing does this move, you say, oh, I should have done this. Next time I'm going to change my strategy to take profits at this point. And then if this happens where I get trailed out and then it goes like this, next time you're going to say, oh, I'm going to widen my stop loss next time. But then when next time actually comes up and this move happens and you say, okay, I'm going to take profits, then that's the one that kept going. And it doubles and triples and quadruples from there in terms of a distance on your trade P&L. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. Dang, I should have held that trade, right? You can play that game in your brain for years, and a lot of traders do. I think one of a superpower of good trading is realizing nothing is perfect. Everything's going to look foolish at times. And the best thing you can do in your trading is do some back testing, find something. I equate this for the gamers out there. I know I'm making a bunch of gaming references. I'm really not a big gamer, but the class system in a lot of games, right, is one of the perfect analogies for trading. So in trading, right, you have people who, okay, so you have win rates and risk to reward, okay? We all have choices to make here. And guess what? None of them are easy. So here's the thing, right? You have the choice as a trader. Do you want a high win rate? Like, do you want a very high win rate? Okay, great. You're going to pay for it in low risk to reward. Okay, well, fine. I want a high win rate, or a high risk to reward. Okay, sure. How are you going to pay for it? You're going to have a low win rate. By the way, this is the one that I've chosen for myself. What about if you want to go medium either way, right? Medium, let's call it mid, right? Mid and mid. Okay, take your pick, right? And I'm curious what you guys think about this. Comment really quick. Let me know. Are you trader? Let's do 1, 2, 3. That's easier. Are you trader 1, trader 2, or trader 3? Noobs in markets, we're not picking on noobs, but this is a reality. Noobs think you can get this and this by buying someone's course. That's the nonsense. They think you can win all the time and get a huge win risk reward. That does not exist, okay? Trading, make your choice. You get to be 1, 2, or 3. None of these is ultimately superior per se. They're profitable traders in all 3 categories, okay? All of us have to make a choice. Now, in the beginning, like I said, in the beginning, every trader thinks they can be this. That does not exist. It is a myth that social media will sell you, that will send you down a rabbit hole of losing money, wasting money on gurus who sell you fake courses and all that nonsense, right? I'm telling you the reality. You have to choose 1, 2, or 3, and you have to stick to it. What that means, if you choose 2, like I have chosen to for the predominant part of my trading, guess what? Get used to rejection, baby. It's like you're going to ask out 100 girls and 95 of them are going to say no, and 5 of them are going to go on dates with you, and 1 of them is going to be your wife. It's the strategy of a numbers game. You're going to have a lot of stuff that fakes you out. You're going to have a lot of stuff that starts out well, but you're like, okay, I hold on to winners, and it turns into a loser, right? This is not ideal in the sense that nothing is ideal in trading. Nothing is perfect. So that's the draw. That's the upside. Now, the upside is with this strategy, you might quote unquote find your wife, in the sense that you might find the really good running trade. And that one winning trade, that 2 or 3 in a year, like I've had a couple trades this year that have made the bulk of the gains in my account. Tesla, QQQ, IWM earlier this year, silver and gold. I've had 5 standout, remarkable trades that have probably accounted for 85% of the gains in my account this year. Right? That's not a lot of trades. I've been trading every day for 11 months, and I have 5 notable, really solid trades that I can think of this year. That's a lot of rejection. You get used to a lot of fake outs with trading style number 2. Some traders say, I like winning all the time, even if it means my wins are small. We call these traders, and by the way, this is Chris Pulver, does great with this stuff. And I have a style of trading that also incorporates this. My currency trading kind of is this. Your win rate is high, but your win size is small. Hey, there's pros and cons to everything. What are the pros to winning all the time? Well, you answered it with that question. You're winning all the time. Small win, small win, small win. Show up, small win. That's nice. First base hits. That's what they call that, right? This is the home run hitter. This is the Babe Ruth. Rare. You don't get many Babe Ruths. The first base hitter, though, shows up, bags a trade, moves on. Now, the challenge with this is that you can take one big loss, or you can take a string of losses and it can set you back dramatically because your losers are going to be bigger, or, you know, it depends what your risk, like this, there's even micro chasms within this idea. Like you could go, how high of a win rate are we talking? We talking 75, 80% win rate? Okay, your win's going to be tiny and your losses are going to be bigger. Talking about 55, 60% win rates? Okay, at that point, your wins might be around the same as your losses, right? In a good trading system. So there are micro, you could call yourself a 1.5, right? A 1.5. But again, I'd encourage everybody who's listening to this right now, consciously make your decision. And maybe you're currently doing number 2, and maybe you want to switch to being number 1. And what is the 3? I guess 3 is actually what I was just saying with 1.5. Trader number 3 is somebody who has a decently okay win rate. Let's say 55% win rate with 1-to-1 risk reward. This is very profitable, by the way. This can be very profitable. However, you know what the difficulty of a 55% 1-to-1 risk reward ratio is? It's really hard to win 55% of the time on a 1-to-1 risk reward. Sounds easy. It's not easy. It's hard. All of it is hard. Everything in trading is hard. I'm just telling you the reality of it. So take your pick. So when you take your pick, though, the next step is to accept the consequences of your selection. If you are somebody who says, in my case, I'm going to speak firsthand, if I'm trader number 2, do you know what that means? That means a lot of my trades miss the mark, or a lot of my trades start well and then I give back profits. And every once in a while, I get that really, really big winner. Okay, I hope that was helpful. That is the selection process in trading. I equate it to kind of in video games where you pick a character or a class type, right? There's like the big tanky guy. He's super strong, but he's not very fast. And then there'll be like the female character who's like super fast and she can like hit a million times, but she doesn't have a lot of strength compared to the big guy. So you have everything has a strength and a weakness in trading, just like that kind of concept. Nothing is holy grail. There's no holy grails in trading. Anyways, I know it's a long rant on that, but just thought it would be a really important thing to outline that whatever system you pick, it can be made fun of. Whatever your strategy is, whatever your thought process is, whatever your entry, who cares though? Pick your selection and stick to it and do your thing. Russell, I'm also out of. I took a loss on Russell this morning. Price was unable to hold support here. We've talked about this in recent videos. Didn't hold here, so I am out. I took a small loss on this one. Took a profit on the NAS trade. I also, what else did I do? I did something else. Oh, I took profits on the gold short. So I am no longer in gold shorts. I sent out this update yesterday. Took a 1% profit on it yesterday when it was down. And I want to talk a little bit about why I did that, because this was out of character for me. This was not usually how I exit a trade, but I have to kind of discuss it. So we're going to talk about why I took profits on the short position in gold. And then now I have kind of a neutral reading on gold and silver. All right, so let's talk about gold. We've got it pulled up. From a technical perspective, I still kind of reiterate that I think technicals look mixed, neutral to slightly bearish for gold prices. Like in the short run, like in the next couple of days, I would not be surprised if you did kind of see a continuation of this, structure gets put in, we tank through the lows, retest, structure gets put in, right? I think we could be, again, sort of setting a ceiling here for another push lower. But edge finder bias on gold has really just not been impressive. And I even saw silver start to look bullish. So I looked at this and I said, okay, silver's starting to press up against some resistance levels. We're looking a little bit bullish on precious metals here. Or I'm sorry, on silver at least. When I look at gold, gold is now getting a +4. It's pretty close to a +5 bullish reading. Yes, you have kind of some negative price action here in the recent times. And yes, you also have some growth metrics that look strong for the dollar. That's where I'm neutral. Like I'm not bullish on precious metals at this point, but I'm also not nearly bearish enough to justify holding a big short position into the weekend or something like that. So I just took profits. I decided I don't love the risk to reward as much as I thought I did after we had some data come in. Yes, I still think the dollar has some short-term upside, but we are also at this major level of resistance. So I'm not short the dollar. I'm not long precious metals. I've just decided I'm going to sit back, be neutral, and wait for a better setup. Nick, only one word you would use to explain yourself, and that word is adapted. I mean, yeah, Bullet, that's a good way of putting it. At the end of the day, you can change your mind in trading. I shorted gold. I made a little bit of profit on it. And then I closed it because I no longer liked the risk reward nearly as much as I had thought. Once I looked closer at edge finder setups in the last few days, the score started drifting higher. And I said, nah, not worth it. So I closed it. I don't like to be short gold anyways. Now, I don't necessarily say that as in I will never short gold, because clearly I will. I shorted it when I had a setup, but that setup faded pretty quick, and I said, yeah, it's not something I'm willing to hold. Nick, it's a risk-off metals market, or a market, so only right the metals rise. VIX is at 20, I think. Yeah, that's another thing, right? The other thing that I was like, okay, NASDAQ and S&P 500 seem to be losing a little bit of their bullish structure. So if we're going to see a little bit of a risk-off flow, I also don't want to be like super short gold. Now, by the way, let me clarify. If you actually see this thing really tank, gold's going down too. Like, do not be fooled. If there is actual selling that takes place in the stock market, gold goes down too. History is very clear on that. If you talk about, let's go back to some notable sell-offs. Let's go back to April of this year, right? Now, gold quickly recaptured and moved higher, but you can see when the stock market started selling real hard, gold moved lower. And if we go back to, let's keep doing this study, in 2022, after the run-up in 2021, we saw gold prices move lower. Where else am I thinking? There's something else. This was also a down period in the stock market. August. Yep. August, markets sold pretty hard. So did gold. And it's actually quite logical when you think about, why would gold move lower when the stock market sells off quickly? What is gold priced in? Dollars. If the stock market sells off quickly and a lot of the leveraged funds and leveraged institutional investors or leveraged retail investors need to buy back or pay back their margin, they get margin called, or they simply want to deleverage, what do they need? Cash. So they often sell what's up in their portfolio, gold. It's a really simple concept. However, that's one of my favorite setups in the world to be long gold. Why? Because when you get that liquidity grab, not in the sense of like stop loss hunting, not that nonsense. What I'm talking about is simply investors needing liquidity, like they need cash to cover debts, to buy back, or to do, to cover their leverage positions back. They rush to gold. And that is a different type of selling. That's a selling where it's like, we just need the cash short term. And then most of the time after that, gold has moved higher. So look at 2020. 2020 is the best example I can give you on this. In 2020, what happened? We had a massive deleveraging event, like probably one of the biggest in our lifetimes. In 2020, you had such a liquidity sell-off. Everybody rushed to raise cash to cover the margin, to cover, to essentially build up cash as the market was selling off. And that happens almost every time you get real scary selling. Everyone sells everything. It's not just stocks that go down. People sell everything that has value so that they can raise cash. It's a simple concept. But the beauty of that setup, and it's very rare when you get that kind of sell, that usually is a wonderful, historically speaking, time to buy gold. Because what happens next usually is when people do start to, when the water calms a little bit, they say, well, where do we want to go back into? Gold is safer in most people's minds than stocks. It has less implied volatility than tech stocks, right? So people rush back into gold. And so that trade is, to me, one that I almost always will take that trade if I see it happening. If the right setup is there, especially if the macro looks weak with that, ooh, that's a sweet setup. Very rare though. And you guys know, if I find one of those setups, I'll share it here, as I've done every time. We were long in 2020 on gold. In 2024, I got really bullish on gold again. And I've only recently gone from bullish precious metals to cautious around here. So I don't want to say I called the top by any means, because I certainly did not. I just mentioned that I was cautious on gold prices. I thought they were a little stretched, and I was way early in that theory. So this is the point of me saying this is, you can always kind of think like, oh, something's stretched, and it can get way more stretched. Even, gold can just go. So My thought process though now is momentum has faded a little bit for gold prices. I'd like to see precious metals, specifically I like silver. If silver can like break through some levels, like if we can get back above 49 with some decisive price action, I actually might start to look at longs on silver again. Take a look at your moving averages. We've been consolidating. I would actually love to see this move. That's beautiful. Why? Because that's a healthy pullback. Silver prices from their highs dropped around 16%. That's healthy. That's good. We want that to happen. If you are a bull on precious metals, you want them to not move straight up forever, because that's what happens when you get bubble territory that blows up and turns into a 10-year down market, which has happened, by the way. I had people in my comment section recently when I mentioned some caution on gold and silver. They're like, gold doesn't go down. I'm like, man, the 1980s called. The 1980s called and they want their money back, because look at this. In 1980, gold only goes up, right? Well, you would have sat to get back to break even if you were chasing into that. Just a modest 10,200 days to get back to break even. And that's a good story compared to silver. Silver took you 11,500 to get back to break even, but then it sold off again for another 10 years. And so it took you 17,000, let's call it 16 to 17,000 days, decades, to get back to break even. Decades. So don't be fooled into thinking precious metals can't go down. They can go down hard. I'm not bearish on them. I'm just saying, please leave the language of certainties completely out of your trading. Otherwise, it will be a painful, hard lesson. Silver looks good on the daily chart. I actually like silver quite a bit more than gold. However, gold prices also seem to at least be trying to base out here on the higher time frames around 39.30. Take a look at moving averages. Again, I'd like to see this thing come back. And I would also be perfectly fine seeing a pullback to the 100 and 200. '80s and 2025 have vastly different fundamental drivers and market landscapes. They certainly do, but 1980s, I would argue, were more bullish for gold. If you know your history, inflation was going bonkers, like insane inflation. Some of the worst inflation the US has ever experienced. So people at the same time were thinking, just like people say now, oh, it's different this time. Gold is never going to stop going up. Look, I'm not saying I'm bearish on gold. I'm bullish. I like gold, precious metals on pullbacks. I'm just saying never say never, and be really careful with the language of this time it's different, because that's how people get into trouble. Just be careful. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying we have to acknowledge we can always be wrong in our thought process. So position size and manage risk accordingly. That's all I'm saying. Edgefinder's neutral on silver. Yeah, I was looking at silver earlier. Let me take a look. It was +6. It's like hovering around. It's hovering around. It's currently got a bullish reading. But again, I'd like to wait for technicals to show a little bit more signs of bullishness. Not to mention, by the way, there was geopolitical insanity in that time of U.S. history. And there is now, but I would say it was much scarier in those times. You had bigger things. You had coming off of the Cold War and coming off of everything happened in the Middle East, and my goodness, news was canceled to confuse people. Yeah, we had NFP scheduled for today, but no cigar, since you had government shutdown continuing. And I think that the government shutdown, my thought process on it is, I think they're going to figure things out, and I really hope they do, because we're getting into the holiday season, and you're going to have people who are not getting a paycheck, and the airports are talking about limiting flights if this continues on. That's going to be so unpopular, and that's not a Republican or Democrat thing. That's both of them. It's like, can you guys figure this stuff out so people can, get a paycheck? And I've been making the joke on my channel, like, can we get back to you guys just wasting our money? Do we have news? Somebody's saying news in the chat. I don't think we have anything big, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, no, we don't have anything right now. Yeah. Anyways, I am pretty neutral on a lot of stuff here this morning. I'm going to continue to watch it like silver if we can get a breakout. Bitcoin, I would love to see Bitcoin show some signs of life, but crypto's looking ugly. Like Edgefinder, this is a good example right now. Edgefinder's getting a bullish rating on Bitcoin, but I can't touch that. Again, I agree with the idea that growth sentiment, growth metrics actually look pretty strong for the US. We had great ISM services PMIs. ADP numbers were better than expected here today. Retail sales, GDP. Like I like the setup in terms of risk on. I like it, but I don't like the technicals right now for Bitcoin, or at least in the short run for the NASDAQ either. I'd like to see this thing base out. So I'm looking for something like this. Like if we could get momentum to return into the bull side for Bitcoin, I may look at that trade, but I don't have enough conviction. Now, if you're longer term, if you're looking at weekly charts, maybe you're buying the dip, but I trade the 4 hour, I trade the daily. I'd like to see the 4 hour and daily show some life before I get long personally. But I do like the story. I like the potential for an end of year rally in Bitcoin just to surprise people, because people are so bearish on it right now. There's like a crypto, dead zone right now on Twitter. If I just pull up Bitcoin, this is what I was referencing. Like end of year seasonality still suggests we could have a end of year rally, but maybe it's being called off right now. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not willing to completely abandon ship on Bitcoin by any means in terms of like that theory of an end of year rally. But I'd like to wait for price action to show me some life before I jump into that trade. So I'm cautious and watching on crypto, and same thing with stocks. US stock market just opened up, by the way. We're going to toss the stream over to Forex James here in just a second. By the way, if you don't have access to Edgefinder, do not miss your chance. We are doing our Black Friday sale right now, and everything is 45% off. If you want to get access to our trade alert service, if you want to get access to the Edgefinder, to the stock box, if you need a payment plan on these products, if you've thought about it in the past, but you're like, I can't do it all at once, send us a direct message. Our team can help you out with that. We'll drop a link here in the chat here so that you can send us a direct message if you need some information. There it is. Simply click that link, and that will connect you to a real person on our team who can set you up with a copy of Edgefinder, set you up with a payment plan if you need that. If you need to split it into 2 payments, just send us a message. It's the best way to get access. Just let us know you're looking at it, you're exploring, if you have any questions, etc. And if it's easier for you, if you're watching on TV, I didn't know this, but a lot of people, until recently, a lot of people watch YouTube on TV. I do, so I guess I should have guessed it, but a lot of my audience, I looked at the stats recently, a lot of people watch from TV. So if it's easier for you, just scan the QR code there with your phone, and it'll basically open up a chat with our team. Just let them know you're interested in which products, and we can get you the best prices of the entire year. We do not go lower, and there is not some sort of secret extra Cyber Monday or Black Friday day drop. We will not be doing any of that. That is the price. It is 45% off right now. We're not going to go like, we're not going to pull a gotcha on Cyber Monday. So don't worry. But there is the best price of the year. Don't miss it. All right. Up next, guys, we got Forex James just after this.
Get over here. Come here. A little closer. Come here. Gotcha.
Hey, how are you guys doing? Happy Friday. Hope you're all well. I hope you've had a great week. I'll be honest, I've had probably one of the worst weeks I've had in years. So I fell down the stairs, to put it bluntly. I shouldn't laugh, it really hurts. So, in cartoons, you'll watch like Family Guy or something. Someone will slip over a banana peel and they'll like go like on the back. I did that down the stairs. And it sounds funny. My girlfriend couldn't stop laughing at me, but oh my God. I've never broken a bone. I've never really been injured. This is like one of the first times I was like almost in tears. So I had to take the week off because I couldn't sit down. I can barely sit down now, but anything for you guys, of course. But yeah, don't expect too much from me today because I'm on some pain medication and I'm very uncomfortable. So I'll do my best. But yeah, I'm feeling better. Thank you. Ball out, Nat Gas hit target. Very nice. Congratulations, ball out. It seems I missed that one. Sorry, it's not Slugmeister anymore, is it? Sluggy FX. Hello, hello. So China 50 is pretty much the only thing I was watching. I was in a position on China 50. It's the first trade I ever took on this market, but I decided to call it or cut it at break even pretty much. So I entered pretty much the same approach I always use, looking for a retest on these previous highs. We got that, so I entered once we saw this H4 rejection. However, I decided to cut the position because something I've noticed, I used some of this week basically just to go back and have a look at old trades and do a bit of optimization. And one of the things I noticed when using the fib, the way I do specifically, a way to tell if it's higher probability of it's going to continue to run or not is how it reacts pretty much straight away. So if you're going to get a fib, let's say, I don't think I drew it there. I'm not sure. Can't remember. I think it must have been somewhere here. Yeah, there. So you're going to get really one of two outcomes. Well, I guess three, let's say. So you're obviously going to get a situation where either it just doesn't do anything, it just rallies down and continues lower, and you're going to get stopped out. That very rarely happens because I normally wait for some sort of confirmation. So in my case, there's normally two outcomes, which is where you will get price either continues higher and you catch a beautiful trend, or you get a situation like what's happened here where actually this was the high, and we then reject the fib to then create a lower high. And a lot of the time, I didn't collect the data in terms of like a statistic, but I did notice a lot of the time in this case, stop loss is very likely if we're not going to push higher and beyond the previous high. So I just called the trade there. I think the fundamentals are still bullish, and I will likely re-enter this market at some point. I just think it might be a little bit early. We do have the pressure going on with the indices and equities sort of globally right now. There's lots of bearish sentiment around NASDAQ, the S&P, all those things. So I just think it probably isn't the right time to be jumping in China 50, especially because, as I said, I've never traded it before. So decided to take the go. Didn't lose any money, so I suppose that's the upside. So Friday sell-off. Yeah, to be honest, I tend to stay away from Fridays. So China 50, I don't have open anymore. I've got a Brent short, pound yen short, and a gold short here. So I put my Sunday watch list video out. Obviously, Sunday just gone. I said I'm going to sell gold. So for anyone that's been watching my segments over the past couple of weeks, you'll know I was actually quite bearish on gold during this period because we were looking at the 9 weekly candle, or nine bullish consecutive weekly candles. Then we double topped here, and it showed me the 10th weekly candle hasn't ever broken the high of the 9th. So I was selling during this period, made a little bit, nothing too crazy, but I do think we do still have some further downside to come for the metals. I think just down to the way people think, and this is more just my own thoughts, isn't like a data point or economics or anything. When we've had a move like this, hopium starts kicking in and we're consolidating sideways. And to me, this is like a pause before we go lower. And again, this is just my interpretation, just my thought process. The Edge Finder was reading bearish on gold as well. Historically, after that 9 bullish weekly candle pattern, we can sort of extend to negative 30% or negative 36%, which was the worst case. That was a bit of an outlier. So I'm definitely not expecting that type of downside. But I do think we do have lower to go. Just by looking at levels, I'm not banking on gold coming all the way down to 3,400. But that's sort of a long-term mental target. If we continue lower, then I'll be looking to take profits around this level. Ideally, though, to be honest, maybe just these next lows at around 3,890. I'd actually probably take profits there because the stop was very, very tight on this. So I heard Nick earlier talk about gold and silver and looking for a break above. I am a little concerned about that. Because fundamentally, I am very bullish on the precious metals long term. So I don't want to sit here and make out like I'm a super bear, but I am just playing my idea right now. So if we do end up breaking above and retesting, I'll look to add actually stop out of the short position and actually pivot long. But yeah, for now, I'm quite happy to sit short and just see how it goes. There's not a huge amount of risk on here. I took it at half risk, and again, it's a tiny stop as well. So it's just a little dart throw at the board and see how it sticks. The funny thing is, when gold was 2K, all common people didn't even pay attention to it when it hits 4,500 or line up to buy. Well, that's kind of how it works, isn't it? I mean, it's like people that don't pay attention to markets, not very involved in specifically metals, I guess. They're not going to really know what the price of gold is until they hear it from someone else, and they will hear it from someone else, and it just goes down that down the grapevine, doesn't it? China 50 by Asia to go. I'm not sure what you mean, Anton. Take a look at GJ. Yeah, I'm in a GJ short, so it doesn't seem to be going my way right. Oh, actually, I suppose it's reversing a little bit. But yeah, we're short GJ. And little plug for you guys, actually, while I'm talking about GJ, it's just reminded me, well, not we, I suppose the A1 guys have got the webinar, the 2026 look ahead webinar, or whatever it's called, where they've got certain trades. I think there's Chris Pulver, there's Nick, I think Marco's on there as well, and I'm on it this year. Well, we'll be discussing trades that we're looking at for next year. In that webinar, I'm planning to talk about the pound. Again, for anyone that's been watching my segments for a little while, you know I've been a perma bear on the pound. I hate it. So I decided I'll use that time to discuss why I actually hate it so much. So if anyone's interested, sign up for that webinar. It is free, by the way. I'm not trying to sell you anything. But yeah, as for pound yen, sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent there. So pound yen to me is very bearish. Well, maybe not very bearish, but it is bearish. Technically, we've got lower highs continuing to form here. Hopefully, this turns into a lower high, and we continue down. But the state of the UK is definitely not improving. We had the budget by Reeves. We've got it seems tax increases coming. It also seems like we've got another type of charge coming on paychecks for sort of the people who get paychecks. I'm not 100% sure exactly what that is yet. But overall, I'm just going to clump it all together and just say that the UK is in a very difficult spot, and I think it's only going to get worse. Japan, I wouldn't say are in a great spot in terms of currency strength or economically, but it's not anything crazy. You know, we all know the state of Japan. We all know that they're not going to hike rates until 2026, or very likely to hike rates in 2026 and not into 2025. So I just think the pound just has a lot of downside to come over sort of the next couple of years, to be quite honest with you. I mean, you know, things could improve, you know, something could happen, it would wipe out my idea. But for now, as things are, I'm standing on the idea that the UK isn't worth holding in a portfolio. And if you are going to hold it, then it should be shorts, not financial advice. FXJ, big mistake. My MAM, GBP, USD, massive wave up next year. Why? That's my question. So yeah, I don't think there's really anything. I was looking at pound CAD. I didn't take this. As I already said, I'm only in 3 positions, which is gold, pound yen, and Brent oil. Why was I looking at pound CAD? Oh yeah, shorts here. So Edgefinder's got a bearish reading with -7. So I was looking for, you know, very typical setup as I always do. So we're looking for a retest of the previous lows. We did get that. We pulled into the 0.618. As I said, I've kind of been off this week, so I didn't manage to notice this whatsoever. I might take it, actually, now I'm seeing it again. If we can pull back and maybe create a double top here and then show another rejection, maybe I'll enter a short. But for now, not really anything there for me just yet. US 500 and the US markets in general, so the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, Russell, etc. I don't really have any interest in being a buyer. The Edgefinder is bullish, so it does make me lean towards being a buyer, but I think the momentum, and it's difficult to be a buyer of this market right now. So if we came down to this level, which we are currently at actually, and maybe had a nice H4 bullish candle close, or maybe even if we come lower towards here, basically just trying to buy off support levels, that might be the play. However, if we do see bearish momentum continue, we end up doing something like this, it might actually be worthwhile looking for a short off this level as well. Obviously, if we can get the Edgefinder to flip bearish and not bullish. What about pound dollar? I don't really have anything for pound dollar, but I think, as I've already mentioned, I am quite bearish on the pound, so I would be looking to be short pound dollar into next year. Again, I'm not going to tell you why, because for the full breakdown, you will have to join the webinar. But yeah, as the same theory is as what I said with pound yen. I think the UK is in a difficult spot, and I don't think it's going to improve. I don't see any way that the UK government can really pivot and fix what the problems are. The US is the US. You know, they might have their problems, but overall, my general rule is never bet against the US. So whether that be the US dollar, the US stock markets, whatever it may be. Obviously, intraday, that type of thing. I'm not talking about that. I mean, long-term bets against the US historically have always been quite poor. Yeah, I mean, the thing is with markets, you can always say there's a wave coming or this is going to come. In my opinion, there is no way to guarantee any of that, because you know, all it would take is for a central banker to come out, say something that we didn't expect, do something we didn't expect, and that whole idea is gone. You know what I mean? So that's one reason I actually don't really like doing long-term theses. I'm quite happy doing 1 to 4 week ideas, and that's it. And then I might revise that once it's done and come back. But yeah, I don't think there's really too much else. We've got the Dow and the Nasdaq reading bullish. As I already mentioned, I'm not overly interested in being involved with those markets. Silver's reading bullish. But as we discussed with gold, if I was going to trade silver, I would need to see the same idea, really. So I'd need to see price break the resistance here, retest, then continue higher. I think if we were going to be a buyer of precious metals, it would be a case really of just trailing stops. I think it would be very difficult to really have a hard target unless you were very, very confident that, you know, silver's going to 60 or 65 or whatever it may be, or even just previous highs. But to be honest, I think silver long term has a lot of potential to surpass $100. When I say long term, I mean long term. I'm not saying by, you know, 6 months or a year. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4 years. Who knows? But to be honest, if I manage to leverage into a silver position long and get it to run, I don't know if I would actually close it, to be honest. I think it might be a case of just trailing stops and trailing stops quite widely and scaling in where possible. Of course, that's easier said than actually done. So we'll have to reassess that if the opportunity comes. But that's the roadmap I've got right now. The Russell's reading bullish as well. I don't trade the Russell, so I'm not going to look at that just yet. Bitcoin's reading bullish. I'm fairly sure Bitcoin's had a bit of a bad time, though. Let's just see. Here. Yeah, Bitcoin's not looking very healthy, to be honest with you. Although, actually, I suppose if you were a pattern trader, you could, I suppose, look at something like this. So we've got, and this is, I've only just noticed this, so this of course isn't a idea you should follow, but it does seem like we have these sort of formations on Bitcoin where we have a run up, like here, run up, consolidation, then we run up, consolidation, we run up, consolidation. It could be a case where now where we run up again and then have another consolidation. I don't know. I don't trade Bitcoin. I don't really know anything about it, to be honest, but that's just my technical interpretation. Believe me, some fairy tale story will come out why London is doing better than it was. I don't think it can. I mean, the IPO, well, London's IPOs are just awful. It's really tragic the way the UK is looking right now. Do you trade Meta? Do you mean the Meta stock? No, I don't. Long US dollar? Yeah, I'm long US dollar as well, by proxy of short gold, really. I mean, it's not 1-to-1, but you get what I'm saying. I'm not long, I'm not short. I'm going to sit back and earn money selling courses. Me? No, not at all. When have I ever heard you say you want to go long or short something? I put that all the time. I always say I'm going long or short. Sometimes if I don't have an answer, I can give you a case for either way. I mean, like I said at the start of the stream, I put a video out last week on Sunday saying that I'm selling gold and have sold gold. Morning, Sir James. Also, I don't have a course, by the way. Siobhan. Hello, Siobhan. Soon to become one of your student. I don't have students, but that's good to hear. So I'm just thinking, what could we be looking at? So pound Australia could be an interesting one. I'm fairly sure the RBA is pretty neutral right now. Again, I've been off this week, so I'm not 100% sure if there's been any changes. I'll have to review that this weekend. However, from a technical standpoint, shorts do look quite nice here. Pull back into previous lows. 50% fib level and then continue lower. I think that would be a reasonable idea to have. We've also got higher, lower highs here as well as the obvious lower lows. So technically speaking, we're in a very nice position to be short. But again, I do need to just review the fundamental backing for this one. Really busy? You don't need to apologize for being busy. I would be a little bit concerned actually if people were putting their real life behind a YouTube stream. Just joining, what should we do on gold? I don't know, Daniel, what does your plan say you do on gold? What's your strategy telling you to do right now? Should be telling you to either buy, sell, or do nothing. There's only 3 outcomes you should have right now. Stocks greed fear index is extreme fear. You know what that means? rocket all-time highs. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I like to be a counter, or not counter, what do you call it? A contrarian trader. I like to be doing the opposite of what other people are doing. So that's one thing that is making me quite bullish. I mean, if you look on social media, I mean, even the Burries started piping up. And to be honest, he called 2008. Yeah, that was pretty cool. But what's he done since then? He's called it wrong over and over and over. I think it was last year. Didn't he get short and the market continued to rally like 50%? Something like that. It's like, you know, you can pay attention to him if you want, but I put absolutely no weight on what he says, to be honest. And that's not from a place of disrespect, but it's just from my own thought process. I just don't see a point. And him being short has made other people get very bearish. And as you said, fear and greed index is now extreme, or extreme fear. So to be honest, I do quite like the idea of being a buyer, but I also do have to be cautious because I might think something. Obviously, doesn't mean the market's going to do it. And this is quite aggressive to the downside. There's no way I would be a buyer of that just yet. So I think if we can come down to this level and we see a little bit of a slowdown, maybe a consolidation or some sort of rejection, then yes, maybe at that point I would maybe get into a long position. You're looking for buys? Very nice. Then yeah, look for buys. Contrarian to sentiment, but it's with trend. Yeah, that's true as well. Dollar dropping. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the dollar earlier, and it does look very bearish again, just from technicals here. But we've double topped. We've come into our 200 daily moving average and shown quite a strong rejection. Overall, obviously, we are in a downtrend as well. So technically speaking, I'm a little bit concerned. However, I don't think the dollar necessarily is ready to start pumping lower. I'm still very much in the mind that we're not going to get a huge move in the dollar until we get the government to reopen. So what can you really base decisions on right now? Well, you don't really have much. You've had the Fed or Powell. That's pretty much it. Oh, and inflation as well. But that's like half the jigsaw piece or half the jigsaw puzzle, you know? I need NFP and all the other data points for the jobs market. So yeah, my idea on the dollar really is pretty sideways for now. That's such a massive stop loss. Oh, that's a massive stop loss in GBP/AUD. What? This? I mean, it's what is that? What are we looking here? Stop loss. It's like 450 pips. It's not that much. Especially, you know, if you use 0.01, it's like, yeah. But this is another thing with trading, I suppose, is your capital isn't just about, you know, how big or small. It's like if you have low capital, you're really restricted in what trading style you can actually use. Because as a swing trader, obviously you need to have wider stops. You know, it's not uncommon to have 250, 500, even 1,000 pip stop loss at times. If you've got $500 in capital, you can't do that. You just can't. You'll get margin warnings, and the risk percent will go way over 1 or 2% that you should be sticking to. But anyway, sell house. Yeah, you need to sell your house to have a 450 pip stop loss. Bashi, hello. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've got about 5 minutes left, and then Marco is coming to take over the show. Apologies, I think probably being a bit low energy today, but as I already said, I'm halfway through recovering. There's news? Is there news? Hold on. Let me just check. I don't think there is any news today, is there? Bear with me. Oh, consumer sentiment index. Okay, right. So let's get back on track. So let's see how gold's going. So gold just isn't doing anything. So I think what my plan is going to be now is trailing stops quite aggressively. So at the moment, I'm actually not logged in, unfortunately, but my stops are obviously where the stop is. So I think what I'm going to do is actually just trail the stop, possibly just slightly lower, reduce the risk by 50%. And then if we end up coming back and breaking above, then fine, I might pivot to being a buyer, or at least the trade is invalidated by then. If we can start breaking these lows, or we can start coming lower, I might actually look to scale in and add into this position and build a more significant short position. But yeah, for now, there's really nothing I can do. I quite like the idea that it's basically just range bound. At least at that point, you know, I can profit down here. The top of the range is pretty much my entry, so I'm not going to get taken out by just range bound movements. But yeah, it's a bit of an ugly chart. Shells, hello, it's good to see you. I like the energy. Bash, you move the market up. Depends which market. 500 lots in EU. Okay, so pound yen still not looking too great for me right now. Brent's not doing anything. So I don't think there's too much. I think New Zealand dollar could be quite a nice short. I mean, we could see a lot of the New Zealand dollar pairs, so Euro New Zealand, Aussie New Zealand, they're all doing very, very well in terms of upside. So it might be a case of looking to buy into some of these markets somehow. The way we do it might be quite tricky because the trends are quite strong. So how would we manage to get into these markets is kind of the question, because there's no real pullbacks. There's not really anything to trade from here. It's kind of like the most ugly uptrend you could ever imagine. It's basically just a consolidation with an upside drift. So very tricky to try and not navigate, but very tricky to try and actually get a solid entry there. Hurt myself. Yeah, I fell down the stairs. The thing is, it was quite funny to watch. I'm sure. I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't watching it, but it felt like one of those, you know, a cartoon when someone trips over. But yeah, definitely not as funny as it is on TV. Still DCAing AUD. Oh, Phantom, you still short on the Aussie New Zealand. Interesting. Yeah. No way in hell it's real. What, me falling? Or the thing is, yeah, no. I mean, basically the whole of my back and my bum cheeks are like blue. It's really bad. Like I'm trying to make it a bit more lighthearted, but it's pretty serious. I think because I'm a bit of a larger build fellow, I didn't break anything, luckily. But I think it could have been a bit worse if I was a bit more skinny. So there you go. I suppose there's some upsides to being a bit of a higher BMI, let's say. So in terms of markets, I don't think there's anything or anything more for me to cover. We've got Marco coming on in about a minute. FTSE looks quite nice here, actually, coming to support, seeing a little bit of a bid. Not going to be trading that, though. I've got no interest in the FTSE just yet. I'm just thinking if there's anything else. I don't think there is really anything to cover. What's the VIX at the minute? So VIX is currently quite elevated, almost 21. So we'll see if the VIX can maintain a higher level. For now, it's not too bad. 20 is relatively reasonable. If we see the VIX continuing higher, it would be a sign to sell equities indices and maybe look to buy some gold. Anyway, not financial advice as always, guys. Have a good one. Thank you for having me. Stay safe and don't get margin called. Enjoy the rest of your days and enjoy your weekends.
Hey guys, I just wanted to jump in for a second and let you know a little bit about today's live stream sponsor, DNA Funded. DNA Funded has very generous profit sharing, up to 90%, and 3 different unique challenge types. For those looking to get funded, they also have speedy payouts, unlimited trading days on the first and second phase of their challenges, a very wide list of different things you can trade with over 800 different assets tradable, and maybe the most important component, a very experienced team behind the whole operation. So if you're interested in learning more about DNA Funded, click the link, check it out, see if it's right for you, and make sure to do your own due diligence to see if what they have to offer fits your trading style. For 20% off, you can use code A1T20. Again, that will be 20% off any of their challenges you'd like to check out. Thank you again to DNA Funded for sponsoring today's live stream. Now back to the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to my segment. I'm just reading for the comments. I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about. Anyways, so welcome to my segment. Hope you're having a great Friday. Markets are still in shutdown, or the news are still in shutdown. We were supposed to get NFP. That was canceled. So, of course, canceled. US government data may be impacted by the shutdown. Tentative events are subject to delay, revision, or cancellation. So that's what is happening. As far as the stock market goes, the NASDAQ is continuing to go lower. I do have a sort of an experimental trade on Palantir, which was not the signal in the A1 Discord because I only want to give out signals that I'm fully confident in. But looks like it hit the take profit. So let me just check my MetaTrader on my personal account. Okay, yeah, we're out. Hit the take profit, pretty nice. I wanted to be out before the weekend as well, so that is some good news. Anyway, I'm gonna break down this trade just so you know why I took it. So we look at the NASDAQ. We look at the technical analysis. It's in a massive uptrend, of course. We were starting to pull back pretty heavily, but you also have to look at the narrative. So you have to look at the fundamentals. Now, the narrative for the huge explosion to the upside was artificial intelligence. Massive CapEx spending on AI or on artificial intelligence. And that was the theme for 2025. Well, lately, people are starting to wonder, investors are starting to wonder, is it super smart to invest billions and billions of dollars into AI, into data centers, into CapEx spending without having a concrete plan on how you will repay your investment or how you will get an ROI on your investment? So what is the evidence? Well, you look at Meta, Facebook, Instagram, all of the cancerous platforms from Zuckerberg, the Lizard King. The first reaction in July, when Meta mentioned massive spending on artificial intelligence, we had an explosion to the upside. So the markets loved it. Well, they mentioned the same thing again on an earnings call, I believe, or a conference call. In October, they mentioned they're going to do massive spending on artificial intelligence. Well, the markets are starting to wonder, is this the smartest thing to do? So we're seeing that. Then you look at Oracle. Oracle, again, has anyone heard of Oracle in the last few years? I personally haven't. So they jumped on the AI hype train in September. They had a massive gap up, massive explosion. Well, once the dust has settled, once the investors have thought things through, they actually started to sell Oracle, and Oracle did a round trip back on the gap open, right? So Oracle did a round trip back on the gap open. If you were proficient, if you had some good trading skills, you could have went short and bet that the gap will be closed, right? So something like this. That would have been a nice positive reward to risk trade. Unfortunately, I did not catch this one. But you can see, it's pretty obvious, it's pretty clear that the AI narrative, that the AI story is not really going to pay off. So the bubble is imminent. So I looked at Palantir, again, another massive AI spender. And at this point on Wednesday, we were pretty much starting the sell-off. I wish I got in at the top. I was a bit too slow. And Michael Burry, the guy from The Big Short, he's also selling Palantir. So I guess it was a pretty good setup. Positive reward to risk. But again, more of an experimental trade. I didn't go all out with the risk. It was a small risk position just to test things out. So fortunately, Palantir kept selling off. I think we can hit even lower levels. So if I'm being honest, I think the NASDAQ goes lower. So I think the NASDAQ goes maybe to here, or maybe even to 22,790, something like that. So if we do hit these levels, I'll be buying for my long-term investments for sure, because it's going to be a nice discount. It's going to be a nice cheap price. There's a pretty cool article that I would like you guys to read. So let me just grab the link. So let me just grab the link for you. Okay, got it there. Here it is. So ChatGPT's ad dilemma, when 700 million users aren't enough. So it goes in a lot of detail into how much ChatGPT is earning and how much they are in debt. So the problem right now is they have massive debt. They have 90% free users, and they don't make enough money from the paid users. Okay, so read this article. It's gonna give you a great idea of why this spending in AI is not sustainable, right? So this is the title. I think you got it. So I'm expecting more downside just from the fundamentals, just from the general, let's say, opinion of multiple experts on the subject, Michael Burry being one of them, if I'm being honest. I think this has more downside. So I'm actually not looking for buy setups, which is contrary to what I have been saying. I know I have been blabbing on for weeks now that I'm looking for a pullback to buy. Well, the fundamentals are no longer in line with technicals, in my opinion. So a bigger correction is likely to happen. Gold is up on the day. Silver is up on the day. Silver actually getting a bullish reading on the edge finder. Yeah, gold still neutral. So gold is still neutral while silver is bullish. So I'm thinking about maybe getting into a long position on silver. Not this week, maybe the next week. Just like a first stab, an initial stab long. I think that could work. I think it would be fine if I go with limited risk. If we do this and I buy, that could be pretty high probability. So that's something I'm considering on silver. I don't want to take the trade today. I don't want to hold this over the weekend if I don't have to, and I don't think we're going to get an explosion in these last few hours of Friday. So I'm looking for a possible position next week on Monday or Tuesday, right? So it is on the radar. I would like to get a bit more bullish momentum, if I'm being honest. So just that we break out of this range. If we can break out and the retest, that would be high probability in my opinion, and that is exactly what I have been waiting for. So I've been waiting for a pullback. UJ I have closed, so I closed this trade on Tuesday, I believe. Of course, if you're in the A1 Discord, you would be notified. All of the high probability trades that I take are put in the A1 Discord, and you can join the A1 Discord with my code, which is MARKO. I think we're running a 45% sale this month with my discount code. So make sure you guys join and we can trade together. It's not just trade signals. It is education, breakdowns, events, breakdowns, general chat with other successful traders. So I would say it's one of the best discords, trading related discords that you have online, period. Because it's not ICT, it's not SMC, it's not imaginary gaps in the markets, imaginary fair value gaps. It is actual fundamental knowledge fundamental trading edges are being discussed that can actually help you to form trade ideas. It's not fairy dust. Okay, it's not bull something. I can't say it because of YouTube's stupid policies, but yeah. USD CAD. So USD CAD, I'm still in. We had some CAD news which came out pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. This is a bit of a problem now. So if you look at the CAD data, employment change, just a massive beat. Unemployment rate went down quite a lot. So that is pretty problematic in my opinion for my USD CAD position, but I'm still holding on. So if I check the overall trend for the GDP, it's going to be, no, it's going to be employment. So it's going to be labor for the CAD. Yeah, so it's coming down a bit. Now, I'm going to look for some more data. I still don't think Canada is saved. I still think this is overall in an uptrend. And I still think their GDP is looking bad. See, last GDP print on October 31st, super bearish. So that is what I'm expecting on USD CAD. I'm expecting more bad data. This is just one data point. I cannot close this trade on just one data point. What I could get is possibly a new swing low, and then I'll move my stop loss from the initial position to this swing low. So that is my game plan on USD CAD. I'm still expecting some more USD strength, especially relative to the CAD. It's all relative. So I'm not saying USD is super strong. I'm saying relative to the CAD, USD is stronger. So I expect this uptrend to continue to the upside. EuroCAD, I closed as well. I closed for a small loss. Wish I held it, closed for break even, but you can never time the market perfectly, and hindsight is a B word. So basically, yeah, unfortunately got taken out for a loss, but I didn't take a huge loss. It was a small risk position. Now, let me check the comments. Quite a lot of comments today. Okay, so let me quickly browse through the comments. US shutdown is expanding. Today, the FAA officially began cutting 700 flights per day across 40 airports. Airports now facing a shortage of 3,500 air traffic controllers with 4 million affected. Whoa, that is crazy. So I think this is now the current record for the US shutdown. We are now at day 36. Okay, so day 36. The longest one I'm aware of was 35 days. It was under Trump in 2018, I believe. So this is now the record shutdown so far. Marco CAD long ideas. Just USD CAD for now. So just USD CAD. Maybe I'm going to take a look at CAD yen. I mean, CAD long, I'm short the CAD. So no, I'm definitely not looking to buy it. I'm still looking to sell it. And I'm doing that through USD CAD. Again, I think it's just one data point. I think it's not going to change the course. So yeah, Bashi, your airports are... no one is working. Why did you take the Palantir trade? Okay, so I think I explained it right after your comment. Basically, it's because the AI story is getting stale. People are starting to see through the cracks, and people are starting to see that the AI CapEx investment is not going to pay off. The numbers just don't match. The investment does not match the expected revenue or the realistic revenue. Hey, FX Bashi, what's up? Mark Zuckerberg is not human. Yeah, he's the lizard king. Either way, ball out. The FAA announced airport flight reductions because of the shutdown. Goodbye, Bashi. Peter Thiel. Yeah, another lizard. Okay. Seems like Taco Marco is copy trading many times. Are you, Marco? I'm not sure what that means. Ads on ChatGPT. Yeah, I think they're going to happen. So if you're using ChatGPT, you're going to get ads. If you're on the free version, you're going to get ads for sure. They will have to do it. Just part of the game. They cannot keep running like this because their expenses are massively, massively bigger than their revenue. only 10% of their users are actually paying for their service. Like, I'm not paying for it, and I'm using it for the ChatGPT challenge. I'll start paying for it if they introduce ads, but just for the challenge. I think you didn't specify the time when you said James shows proof too. I think about this way: when you do research, would you have done it with such vagueness? I'm not sure what that comment means. Okay, indices will bounce back. I think there's more downside for the indices. I'd like to live in Montana. Okay. FAA says it's cutting thousands of flights a day starting this week due to shutdown. Yes, interesting stuff. Dystopian world. VIX to 1 million. Okay, so basically, let me check out crypto. Doing nothing for today. Kind of bearish. I'm bearish on Bitcoin. I'm bearish on Ethereum. If you look at if you're in the A1 Discord, I posted the halving cycle for Bitcoin. We are now in the part of the halving cycle that is bearish. Let me see if I can bring it up. I'm not sure if I can bring it up here on my browser. Yeah, it's not going to happen. But I'm bearish. If we go to some lower levels, I'll look to buy as more of a long-term investment. So if we go not there, but let's say maybe a bit lower, like 90 or 77, 78, I think that would be fine for like long-term investments. So be ready. My main advice, not financial advice, but my main advice would be have some dry powder ready for the NASDAQ and for Bitcoin, because we might see a nice, healthy pullback. Now, let me show you something that's pretty cool. If you click the plus button here, and if you select Bitcoin new price scale, now you can actually compare Bitcoin to the NASDAQ. And what you will find is, let me just show you. Can we move this a bit higher? Yes, we can. So what you will find, come on, see what happened in 2025. So Bitcoin started dropping in January 25. NASDAQ followed 1 month after that. What has happened now? So Bitcoin started heavily selling off on the 6th of October. NASDAQ possibly started to sell off on the 30th of October. So I think Bitcoin can be used as a bit of a leading indicator. So you can compare the price of the NASDAQ relative to Bitcoin, and you can kind of anticipate pullbacks. You can kind of anticipate sell-offs. So it already happened here, and it may happen again, and I think it started to happen. So I think we could see some lower levels on the NASDAQ, levels like, let's say 22.9, 2300. I think that could happen. Okay. S&P is falling, Dow is falling, Russell falling, the DAX doing absolutely nothing. So the DAX is boring as always, just super flat, super range bound. I'm not sure how I got sucked into the bullish DAX story. I know at the beginning of the year, there was the story of the dollar is losing value. Everyone is going into the euro. Everyone is buying euros. Everyone is selling dollars. The DAX is the new NASDAQ. The DAX is going to outperform the NASDAQ. The DAX is going to be our savior for 2025. Well, it was never our savior. The DAX was always super slow. So I was kind of a sucker, and I got sucked into the DAX long story. I should have known better, but I took 2 stabs at it, and both were a loss, and we just raged around for the rest of the year. So not a good thing to trade. NASDAQ, much more interesting. So the NASDAQ is much, much more interesting. Free BD 3000 new on the channel. Nice analysis. Happy to be on board. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the live stream, and have a great rest of your day, and have a great trading week next week, because we're kind of approaching the end of the market close. UJ, okay, just been on the sidelines more recently, and understandably so. US government is shut down. Nice ES bounce. I'm in. DAX sucks. Yes, DAX sucks. Market check. My NZD/USD idea would play it nicely if I hadn't gotten kicked out. NZD/USD sell I took ages ago. Yeah, sure, Sluggy. If you can give me some levels, if you can give me some price levels, I'm gonna put it on the screen. The DAX is interesting for a range long trade. Well, options. If you just wanna trade options on the DAX and bet that the DAX will stay in this range, you can do that. You can structure a trade where your bet is that the market stays in the range for the next 1 or 2 or 3 months. You can just collect premiums and the markets will just remain flat. I think there's no catalyst for this thing to go up or even go down. So UJ was the request. UJ, USDJPY. I'm kind of neutral. So I was bullish. That's why I had a position in, but I'm starting to be a bit more neutral. Also, I'm closely following Nick. I'm closely following Brent Donnelly. And both of them agree the US dollar has become more neutral and they don't really have a massively bullish view on the DXY. So we are approaching also an intervention level, possible intervention level at 156, 157, 158. Now, that doesn't mean that there will actually be an intervention at those levels, but those are the levels where the BOJ, Bank of Japan, starts coming into the markets and possibly starts talking about, we don't like the current exchange rate of UJ. We may do an intervention. We are considering intervening, and that alone is enough to push the markets lower. Okay, so just the rumor is enough to push the markets lower. So this is a bit of a dangerous territory. And you also had some dovish comments from the new prime minister. Recently, I think there were some dovish comments from Takaishi. She is the new prime minister of Japan. And the UJ hasn't rallied at all, okay? So UJ has not rallied at all from this level, right? So yeah, basically that's another confirmation. You get good news, bad price. That's what how the professionals call it. Good news, bad price, super bearish, because good news should be good price. Good news should be UJ goes up. But you have good news, bad price, UJ sells off, UJ cannot go higher, and I'm expecting lower levels if I need to make a bet. So I'm neutral, but even more bearish than neutral on the UJ. Now for the DXY, I'm not so bullish. I'm more neutral, as I mentioned. Nick is neutral, Brent Donnelly is neutral, a couple of other guys I follow are neutral as well. But I still like USD CAD because I just want to sell the CAD. I think USD is so much stronger relative to the CAD that even with some USD weakness, this is still high probability. This is still a high probability trade to take. Okay. So we got the levels. Sluggy says Aussie NZD/USD, NZD/USD. Okay. And from 58430. Okay. Yeah, I remember that you posted about this trade. It would have been a great one for sure. Definitely would have been a great position. Interesting how the New Zealand dollar is super weak. So that is pretty interesting to see. Again, the dollar, relative to other currencies, the dollar is pretty strong. So this is to be expected. And yeah, this would have been a great position. Would have been running some decent percentage, some massive percentage actually. If anyone is in this position, I would say definitely consider taking some partials at this level because it's going to be a massive level of support. Okay, so just be careful. Now it's time for me to mention the sponsor of today's video, which is going to be DNA Funded. So if you guys are looking for a prop firm, if you're looking to expand your trading capital, get some funding, I believe this is one of the best options on the market. So 95% of prop firms are ran by children, teenagers, and most of them are here for a few months. DNA Funded is one of the few that's actually ran by professionals and that will be here for the next few years. Now, in terms of pricing, I think if you look at all the reliable prop firms like FTMO, 5%ers, and then DNA, I think DNA, you get the absolute best price with our discount code, which is A1 Live. So you get 25% off every single DNA Funded challenge. So if you're looking to get funded, A1 Live, 25% off, DNA. This is my challenge, 50K, currently running. Equity is around 51.395. So we're back to negative, not to negative, but we're back in drawdown. Unfortunately, I took a buy on the S&P and I took a buy on Aussie Yen, which is negative. By the way, this is purely signals from ChatGPT. So for this specific challenge, I'm testing out ChatGPT signals. Okay, every single day I go to ChatGPT. I tell ChatGPT, give me 2 positions for the day, one on the S&P, one on a major currency pair of your choice. So it's been kind of a rough start, and then we had some success, and now we're back to more of a rough start. We're back in the pullback, but I still think this looks okay overall, and I'm gonna battle it out. We're still up, which is the most important part. We're still up. So check it out. Okay. Hey, Joshua, what's up? How are you doing? Except I'm not James, unless you're talking about the James behind the screen. So James, who is running the stream. Or James Tucker. Yeah, James Tucker. So I'm not sure which James you're referring to. Okay, what do we have left for the day? We covered the indices. We covered crypto. We can look at, okay, the VIX is up. We're selling off in the stock market. That's usually how it should go. Stocks down, VIX up, nothing new under the sun. US oil, prices of oil are falling, but it's a tough thing to trade. So oil and copper are my least favorite things to trade. Okay. So copper just all over the place, very corrective. US oil, super corrective, very much impacted by geopolitics. So I don't like it. One thing I'm looking at is the Aussie NZD. So Aussie NZD, if you zoom out on the weekly, we're actually stuck at this massive level of resistance. Okay, so we're now pushing into the level of resistance. I'm expecting a reaction. I think that there's going to be some sort of a reaction. Now, I'm not just going to trade blindly off of the technicals, but if you look at Australia as an economy, they have been struggling lately. Why do I say that? Because if you look at the miners, which is, what is the ticker for the miners? Crap, I forgot. So give me 1 second. I'm going to take a look in my email. Let's see. What is the ticker for the miners? XME. That's it. So if you look at XME, metals and mining, this thing has just been going lower. So it's definitely been in a downtrend, as you can see. What do you know about Australia? 30 to 40% of Australia's GDP is from metals and mining export. So if the price of metals and mining is going lower, the value or the demand for the Australian dollar, the demand for Australia's exports is going lower as well. Now it hasn't yet hit the Aussie, maybe on AU, but on AUD NZD, not yet. If you look at AUD NZD, it still hasn't hit AUD/NZD in terms of bearish price action. So I think now selling right here could be a interesting trade idea. I already have a small short position as a feeler position. Again, more of an experimental trade, which I'm not going to post in A1 because I don't have full confidence in it. But just to talk about it, I think Aussie right now faces some weakness. If we check on the Edge Finder, probably the short-term data is going to look okay. Yeah, short-term data is actually rock solid. But I think the fall in the price of metals and mining should come to the Aussie. So the demand for the Aussie should go down. And this could be a nice short idea with a tight stop loss, of course, because this is a pretty important level. There must be some sort of a reaction. I'm not talking about a crash lower like this. I'm just talking about a bearish reaction, some sort of a pullback. So I think the probabilities are for that pullback to happen. Both technical analysis and fundamental analysis are in line with each other. And that's the best thing you can have when you look for setups. Okay. Marco seems like too much reliance on Michael Burry, ChatGPT slugging Nick. Too much reliance. Yeah, that's true. But hey, if you're listening to the profitable traders, if you're listening to the successful traders with lots of experience, you can't go wrong. I mean, they are sort of vetted, so you know they're profitable, right? If you listen to the right people, if you surround yourself with right people, you will for sure catch some good advice, catch some good insight that will help your trading as well. If you hang out with losers, you'll be a loser. If you hang out with winners, most likely you have a big chance you'll actually be a winner. Isn't the CAD stronger on the Edge Finder strength meter? Yeah, for the short term it is. But long term, I still think it's bad. So you have to distinguish between short-term news and long-term news. Short-term, this is like awesome. So short-term news is absolutely awesome, super bullish. But the trade I have on USD CAD is more of a long-term play. So I'm looking at long-term news for this one, okay? Now for long-term news, if you look at the GDP, super bad. If you look at the unemployment, really bad and rising. 6.9% relative to other economies, that is horrible. Inflation is actually up. So inflation is above 2%, which is a problem. They're facing a bit of a stagflation scenario. Stagflation is never bullish for the underlying currency. Okay. Hey Joshua, so you were waiting for James to stream. I'm guessing James the streamer. Ballout, I'm not relying on any big trader. In fact, I added to the Nasdaq. Taco Marco, while you're checking your emails, send me your social security number. Okay, sure. I'll send you the number in the Discord. How much is the Discord? You can actually get 45% off with my code. So I'm glad you asked. This week, massive sale. Next week, massive sale. With my code, 45% off. Just go to A1, type in the code, and you'll see the price. I don't know the price by heart, so maybe James can put it in. And it's a one-time payment. Exporters of iron ore and coal. Yes, big exporters. You can ask ChatGPT, what is the percentage of Australia's GDP that is coming from exporting metals? Just kidding, Marco, you're the man. Thank you very much, Mr. Ballout. Okay, we have approached the end of my segment. What's your code? The code is MARKO for the Edge Finder and the Discord, and for DNA Funded, it's A1 Live. So I have two codes. This one is for the A1 Discord, trade signals, my trade signals, Nick's, Chris Pulver, Ivan, and this one is for DNA Funded challenges. This one is currently 45% off. This one is 25% off. Okay. So last minute analysis to wrap up the stream. The NASDAQ I'm bearish on. I think we can go to 2300. Gold, neutral. Silver, I'm looking for buy setups because we're finally starting to get a bullish score on the edge finder. I'm not going to take a buy trade this week. I'll probably look for a buy setup on Monday next week. UJ, I'm bearish on. USD CAD, I'm in, and it's still running. Euro CAD, I'm neutral. So that would be about it. We didn't get NFP. We have the US government shutdown, biggest shutdown so far, 36 days. Unless something happens, we will just continue with no news and a bit of slower markets. Good luck next week, and I will see you on Monday because I'll be streaming. I'll be streaming pretty much every single day next week. So thank you for watching. See you.
You've been watching A1 Trading Live. We're here Monday through Friday, where you can tune in to hear insights from professional traders from all over the world. All month long, our products are 40% off, the biggest discount of the entire year. You can get access to our trading softwares, trading community, and so much more right now on our website, a1trading.com. Make sure to subscribe for future streams, and don't forget, if you're looking to get access to free courses, prop firm discounts, and free trading tools, as well as massive discounts on all our products, head over to a1trading.com. See you next time.